Hello and welcome back to the workshop. So, in my previous videos, I've had an issue with bubbles. So, there's the problem. Now we're going to take one step towards correcting that issue, and we're going to make a vacuum chamber. So for this, what I've picked up, and they're all relatively inexpensive, we've got 2 check valves. We've got a T, we've got some airline, those 4 items all from the local pet store. I've got a 10 milliliter syringe, size not really an issue here, we could go larger. I wouldn't want to go any smaller because it would just take that many more pumps. We've got a glass container, we've got some scissors, some glue, and the one that might be a little more difficult is I've got a sheet of rubber. Now you could do this with silicone, just pouring it in the lid to make a seal. Or if you have old bike tires, you could cut out and then use some glue. You just want to make an airtight seal on that. So with that, let's get building here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trace out our container size on our rubber. Okay, now that we've got that cut down, we can put it away so we got less to work with. And we're just going to trim those edges up. That trimmed up, let's see how well it fits. Not very. Sort of expected. We traced the outside, so we want to go in just a little bit. But I'd rather do it in little pieces, that way we don't cut too much off. The reason I'm tracing this is because this will give me the smallest that it can possibly go. Because if I don't cover the lip here, it's going to leave a spot for air to leak out. So I don't want to go too small. Okay, so that's going to work well, but there's one more modification that we'll need to make to this. We need to cut out the center. Essentially, we're cutting out where the valve's going to go in. So we'll just make sure that the jar still closes. Okay, that should be good. And now we're going to want to drill a hole so that we can put in our tubing. Okay. I say okay a lot. Actually, the way we're going to do this is I'm just going to cut off a small bit of tubing. We're going to push that through the hole. Now the drill bit I used is slightly smaller just to try to get a tighter fit on that. I'm going to use some hot glue. We're just going to go around the top here. same on the inside, just to make sure we've got it nicely well sealed up. Okay, the screw cap might need to be modified. Most vacuum chambers you see, they just use a clear piece of plastic and they put it on top and let it squish down. That is ideal, but I want to use what I had right now. So now the reason we put the tubing in is because we want to be able to take this and either put it in one way or the other. This should be a reversible system. So these are nice. They tell you which way the flow is. So there's in, out, in, out. So what we're going to want to go is air comes in, let out here, and then when we push it back in, it should go out and out. So we just need a small piece of tubing, times 2. Just push that onto the hose barbs. Okay. Okay. So that should just slip on there. That should slip on there. So now we should be. And that can just slip on there. Okay. So now we need to test it and see if this actually works. That's working. Okay, so we're going to test this. I did find myself a piece of clear plastic just because the lid was hard to get on and off. So same process for the lid, but just drill a hole, put the gasket on, put the tube through, hot glue. So let's give this a try. Now, one thing that is going to need to be upgraded is the syringe. This is a 10 milliliter syringe. This is a lot more than 10 milliliters. So for every pump, I'm only taking out 10 milliliters of air. And that is going to be a long process. But let's see what we can do here. So we'll hook up the check valve vacuum pump. Okay, we're going to hold that down. Okay, so I can see it's actually pulled that gasket down in there. So if we release the pressure, let's see what happens to the marshmallow. Not much. So I think we're going to go find a larger syringe, hook that up, and see how well we can pump this air out. Okay, we're back. We've made a couple things. We've made a proto putty seal. See the video for that. Definitely something that was needed. And we have also upgraded the syringes to something just a tad bit bigger. So what we got is a 100 milliliter syringe. And if that's not big enough, we have a 200 milliliter syringe. So let's see what this can do. So once again, we're just going to put the lid on there. And we'll hook up the 100 first. Just hold down to make sure that it stays. Now keep an eye on that balloon, because as we pump it out, the pressure going down should cause the balloon to swell up. Okay. And I think that's about as much as we're going to pump with this. So that was about, 8 pumps. So we'll let the pressure out. And it goes back down to normal. So now, let's try with the bigger pump. Okay. Now we do have one last thing that we can test out here, and that is another pump, but it's not a manual pump. It is a actual vacuum pump. So we'll just hook that up down here. We'll turn it on. And we actually popped the balloon. So yeah, that's definitely confirmed that the vacuum works. The manual pump works with these syringes, which is a nice cost-effective way to get done. But if you can, get a vacuum pump, and that will allow you to do it a little bit faster. This was a good example on how we can cost-effectively build a vacuum chamber using some simple things and some non-expensive items. The syringes both of these cost me less than $20. Glass jar was maybe $2 at the dollar store. Thing of silicone was less than $10. Cornstarch, $2. The plexiglass I was able to recycle. And the most expensive part would be the check valves. And the tea and the tubing cost me just under $20. So we're looking at about $40 setup, where you can easily show the effects of pressure and degassing. Definitely the 200cc one works the best for the manual pumps. The actual vacuum pumps seem to be pretty darn amazing. Big difference there. Now, the one thing that I do caution about is the container you're using. Make sure it is a nice thick glass. I had a vase, the one that we made this seal for in the Proto Putty video. And it was just a regular flower vase, which at the top seemed like nice and thick. Except, it's not thick. It's when you get down about halfway, that glass is maybe a millimeter thick. So as I was creating a vacuum on it, the whole thing imploded on itself, sending glass in a couple of ways. When I'm doing some of these, I'm going to start wearing a little bit more safety gear, because that scared the poop out of me. things blowing up with your face near them is not an ideal thing. Always consider safety. So we're going to be going forward with that. This glass is extremely thick, so it shouldn't break. The benefits of a vacuum chamber is if it does break, it will pull everything into itself. So it's not like an explosion. Earlier in the video, I do say that I want to make this reversible. That's a horrible idea, because if we're to put pressure in here and somehow manage to hold that pressure to the point where this breaks, it's not going to be sucking it in like a vacuum chamber would. It's going to send out glass shards everywhere, and that could be fatal. So do not use glass for a pressure pot. Glass for a vacuum chamber is okay, but still practice some safety. So with that, we're going to go on to the next video. So if you enjoyed the content, please consider liking and subscribing. Have a great day.